Oh my goodness. Ugh. I'm driving through a skunk area. Somebody must have hit a skunk. Hey, welcome to my vlog number 45. And today I want to tell you about how my kids bought their first cars. My oldest one, so I have 4 daughters. My oldest one was the first one, obviously, to get a car, and she worked for probably 2 or 3 years and saved up money to get her first car. The first car that she got was a Subaru Outback, and she paid how much did she pay? I think she paid $9,000 for it, and she drove around and got rear-ended soon after. And the insurance paid out, and then she was able to go and buy another car, and she got a 2011 Toyota RAV4, right? Yeah, Toyota RAV4. And then my second daughter, she also worked, I think she worked for a year and a half. No, she worked for 2 years also. And she was able to get herself, so she bought a car during COVID, which, as everybody probably remembers, everything was super expensive. And cars were really expensive and hard to find, and especially in our area, 4x4 cars were really hard to get, especially in good shape and with lower mileage. So she found a Toyota RAV4. I think this was a 2008 Toyota RAV4, and she paid a lot. She paid close to $15,000 for it. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. It was an older Toyota RAV4 than my first daughter's car, but it was so much more expensive. We thought that the prices of cars are just going to be like that. You know, nobody knew what was going to happen with all the lockdowns and everything. Nobody knew what if the world's ever going to get back to normal after that. So you needed a car, you just go and get a car. And then car prices went down. And so my third daughter just recently bought herself a car, and she also worked for probably 2 years to earn up a bunch of money and save up enough to buy a car. And she got a 2015 Nissan Juke. And so she found it on a Facebook marketplace, and he wanted $9,000 for it. It was low mileage, low in terms of, like, I think it had 49,000 or 69,000. I don't know, something below 70,000, which is good mileage for a car like that. So he wanted $9,000 for it. We went out there and looked at it and drove it around. and we were ready to buy it. And so I asked him, I guess the price on the car was $9,000 or best offer. And so I asked him if I didn't even want to like haggle with him, because $9,000 for this car was great. But I asked him, so you're asking $9,000 for it? And he said, yeah, or best offer. And I instantly thought, how about $8,000? I didn't even really think about it. It just came out of my mouth. And he said, okay. So just like that, we saved $1,000. Yeah, so the moral of the story is that, like, a lot of people around me, they buy cars for their kids, and I'm not in a position to buy a car for my kids, because cars are not cheap, and I'm not rich, so I just can't afford to buy them a car. But they can work and earn the money to buy a car. I imagine that if a child or a young adult, or I don't know what you would call that, a 17-year-old, if he or she wants to drive and wants to have a car at that age, there's no choice but to have to buy a car for them, because at that age, where can they possibly work to earn enough money to buy a car? My girls, they didn't want to drive early on in their adulthood. They lived at home. We drove them everywhere, so there was no need for them to drive, really. They did want to, so they did learn to, they got a permit and they learned to drive. But they didn't need to right away get a car. So that put them in a good position to get a job and earn the money to buy a good car. You know, instead of buying like a $3,000 or $4,000 car that's not going to be dependable, they can work for a year or two and earn up enough money to buy a good car, something that they can depend on, and they can drive places and not worry that something's going to break or whatever. So they were able to do that, and it's completely realistic to buy a used car for about $10,000 to $15,000, and it'll be a good car for a kid. And for them to get into debt by buying a new car or a car from a dealer with payments, that's a hard start for their life. They're not going to be making enough money to be able to have a car payment and then if they want to move out and pay rent, that's going to kill them. With today's rent prices, that's insane. I can't even imagine kids these days that are moving out on their own. It's got to be tough. Anyway, yeah, short story about that. I'm very happy that they were able to do that. I still have one more daughter to learn to drive and to buy a car, and she's gonna follow the same pattern. She's gonna get a job, earn up some money, and buy a good car. All right, thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate you. Please like and subscribe and leave me a comment, and and have an amazing day. All right, bye-bye.